ServPro of Piatt-DeWitt counties is the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. Find out all the services they provide by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Life is uncertain. Stop in and see me, State Farm Agent Jason France, on the west side of the Clinton Square, or click our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com and see how our full lineup of State Farm insurance and financial services can help protect your family.
Local farm broadcaster Jared White covers the local agriculture news you need to know. Hear his reports by downloading the free WHOW mobile app.
Hi, this is Len Casper, new voice of the Chicago White Sox, reminding you this is where the Sox play. WHOW AM and FM.
Brought to you by Enel Green Power's Alta Farms Wind Project, Baum Chevy Buick, Clinton Athletic Boosters, Clinton Community YMCA, Covenant Animal Clinic, Liberty Village, Midstate Eye, Nan Krang with Remax Choice, your 217 home team, Warner Hospital and Health Services, and ServPro of Piatt-DeWitt counties.
Just how low will a politician go to get elected? Ask Darren Bailey. Bailey's letting J.B. Pritzker finance his campaign. Over $5 million from the Democrats meddling in our primary, trying to buy the Republican nomination for Bailey. Pritzker finally admitted it.
There's a new ad from the Democratic Governors Association to help Bailey in the primary. You're behind this ad.
Yeah, I support that ad. It elevates attention to all of the good. I'm simply trying to tell everybody who Darren Bailey is.
And Bailey's downright giddy about it.
You're glad to see those ads from the Democratic Governors Association?
Oh, yeah, I do. And that's beautiful.
So craven. Darren Bailey sold out at the drop of a dime for Democrat money. Easy to buy, easy to beat. Pritzker knows Bailey's too weak to win in November. And he shouldn't, because he's just like Pritzker. Darren Bailey raised our property taxes 13 times, 81% higher. Pritzker's favorite tax-raising Republican. We can never trust him again. Paid for by Urban for Illinois.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the morning show is Congressman Rodney Davis. Mr. Congressman, how are you today?
You know what, Seth? I'm doing well, except disappointed your Mets are doing so well, too.
You know, I would normally be disappointed the Mets are doing well, but it's like they've overcome so much already. Like Scherzer's out, DeGrom's not even pitched a game this year. You know, the offense is doing well. I don't know. It's fun to be a Mets fan for once in my life, I guess. This is like once every 7-year, 8-year type of deal. So I'll enjoy it while it lasts, you know.
Oh, you're making me choke up with vomit here.
You know, I really don't want to. I really, Rodney, don't want to hear it from a Braves fan, okay? I mean, you had a decade and then like another run about 4 or 5 years ago of really good teams. So I really don't want to hear it from you right now.
Yeah, you guys, you Mets are the victims.
Exactly.
You know, you guys sound like the Braves last year. Braves lost a lot of good starters and we're able to overcome it. I hope you keep doing well until the Braves catch up and overtake.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings this morning. I was kind of surprised to see how much the Braves had struggled. I had felt like they had started to get a little hot. Didn't they go to Arizona and take like 2 out of 3 from the Diamondbacks or something like that?
Yeah, barely. I mean, they've just had some rough games, bad errors, things like that. It just is a frustrating year, but well, hopefully you guys will get your frustrations in the second half of the season.
Yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. But anyways, Rodney, let's dive into gas prices. You know, I have to be honest. My wife sat down last night. We were talking, and she said, "Boy, I'm glad I filled up last night." Or this was obviously last night. She's talking about Tuesday night. She said, "I'm glad I filled up last night." And I said, "Why? What happened?" And she goes, "Gas prices hit $5." And I went to the gas station yesterday, and I've got an E85 engine, so I get a little relief there. But so my gas hadn't quite hit $5, but I did notice there was quite a spike. How about gas prices, Rodney?
It is exactly what everyone's talking about. I mean, I can't ever remember in my lifetime seeing $5 per gallon gas, and it's even higher out on the coast where they have ungodly regulatory issues, places like California. Gas is extraordinarily high, as are every other product that families are having to purchase. Gas is being affected by the inflationary crisis that the Biden administration's doing nothing about. We wonder how people in Central Illinois are going to be able to afford the exponential increase in gas, and at the same time, how are they going to be able to afford the exponential increase they've seen in their groceries? And let's not forget too, Seth. All you have to do is look at what has happened when it comes to electrical supply and the cost that power companies are having to pay for supply. There's talk of rolling brownouts in the United States of America. And frankly, when you look at what J.B. Pritzker and the Democrats have done in Illinois, the energy package that's going to force baseload generating plants to close down that work with our nuclear plant in Clinton, that's going to raise prices on utilities and energy.
Rodney, one thing that I'm finding kind of interesting about the gas price increase is that, this green initiative is what Joe Biden ran on. I don't think we should really be that surprised. I think this is a lot of what he wanted when he ran for president.
It really is. And that's what I think is so offensive to many families that I represent. It's like they don't care. It's like this is purposeful. It's going to be painful for families, and they're okay with that. And really what it's doing is, in the long term, really killing our economy and our chance to get through this inflationary crisis and get our job market back to where it should be. How can we ever address the supply chain crisis in this country if we're seeing our energy prices exponentially rise? What makes America's farmers, what makes it in the global marketplace is our access to affordable energy here in the United States. And the Biden administration, as you said, they're driving those prices up, and that is exactly what their plan has been. He told us this was going to happen. I'm with you, man. I don't know why anybody's surprised.
Yeah, well, and now the talking points from the White House are, well, this is just part of, our progression to green energy and everyone buying an electric vehicle. I mean, that's and I don't know about you, Rodney. I'm sure you make more than I do, but I can't afford an electric vehicle. And frankly, I'm not sure I really even want one.
Yeah, the issue of affordability on electric vehicles usually outdone by the availability of an electric vehicle. And then at the same time, it's not magic power that powers that. Somebody's going to pay for it. And if you take our coal plants out of service, you take our natural gas plants out of service, like J.B. Pritzker has signed into law to do over the next few years, then that cost from the magic power cord, if you can afford an electric vehicle, is going to go up exponentially. It becomes unaffordable for the American family that Joe Biden said that he supported the most. And those are the middle-class families that live in this district. They're going to the grocery stores. They're seeing their cart that used to cost $100 a week now costs $200. They're seeing other costs that are going up, and it just becomes a burden for so many families.
And just like talking to, my friends, regular sane people, at least I kind of think they're sane myself, but whatever. To me, no one is really against green energy. It's just a matter of why can't we keep what we have, continue to develop green energy? Because I myself kind of believe 10, 15, 20 years down the road, it's going to be a very viable thing that's going to do a lot of good for the environment and that sort of thing. But I don't know. We're just not quite there yet. What do you think about that?
Well, I've always been for an all of the above approach, but I've dealt with a lot of people who bow down at the knee to the climate gods, and they tell us that the world's going to end in 12 years if America doesn't shut down every single baseload generating plant, including the Clinton nuclear plant. And they tell us that we have to run America's economy on renewable energy. Well, we can't. It's unaffordable. Look, we've got windmills lining the farm fields leading. Every time I drive up to where you're at to sit in studio, it's there. Solar panels are out there, but they have to be additions rather than replacements. And that's where the numbers and the supply issue has to be put to the forefront. That same crowd is really fond, Seth, of telling you and me to use science and data. Well, the science and data, and I'd add another one in there. It's called math. Math determines affordability, and the math doesn't add up to make energy affordable for people that I represent, people who live in communities like yours and mine that just want to be able to go to work, raise their kids, be able to live a comfortable life and move forward. Instead, it's always transitory energy costs or transitory inflation. Hey, big words coming from Democrats in Washington always means it costs you more in your family budget.
Mm-hmm. Rodney, rolling brownouts, that was a term you threw out there just a minute ago, and I that could be a possibility in Illinois this summer, especially central Illinois. What does that look like? What does that mean?
It means basically your power, depending on where you're at on the grid, is going to shut down for a matter of time this summer during the day. That's crazy. That's not something we in America should ever have to experience. We have the know-how, we have the ingenuity, we have the ability to produce clean energy, we have the ability to make sure we produce energy. But instead, policies that are made in Washington and policies that are made in Illinois and Springfield are leading to what I would consider probably the most likely time in my lifetime and yours that rolling brownouts might be a possibility. I was talking to the head of a company that runs a coal plant in my district, and he and I were talking in the hallways of the Capitol a few weeks ago, and he reminded me, he said that it's not just J.B. Pritzker and the Democrats in Springfield who voted for this energy plan, and look, it helped our nuclear plants, it did, great, but the attack on coal plants, the attack on natural gas plants is going to turn to our nuclear facilities now. But he said that the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is actually trying to push companies to shut down plants nationwide very, very quickly. And all that will do is to lead to more rolling brownouts.
Mm-hmm. How do we fix this, Rodney? And what does the Republican Party do, if they're successful in regaining the House and even the Senate in later this year? What do we do about this? How do we fix this?
Well, it's a must that we take the House and the Senate back. And I certainly hope that if there's anybody worried about, anybody that's concerned about voting Republican, just look at your pocketbook, look at the stores you're shopping in and the prices you're paying. Look at the gas pump when you have to fill up your car. And then the Democrats tell you, just go buy a new one. Well, that's just not possible for so many families. And when we do take over the House and the Senate, what we do is we provide a backstop. We have a backstop that can make sure that crazy things that the Biden administration wants to do legislatively can't get done. But we also have an oversight responsibility. We can provide adequate and proper oversight over the federal agencies who may want to push executive actions on their own.
Will this be a quick fix? Is this something we're going to have to live with for a while?
It's going to be a quick fix, I hope, when we take over, because we'll provide that balance that we haven't seen. But in the end, it's going to take a fix of a change in the White House. And I certainly hope that we can do that in 2024. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make that happen.
Well, Congressman, let's take a time out here. Come back with some more. Congressman Rodney Davis on the phone with us. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube. It's brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. More to come on the WHOW Morning Show.
Having a hard time finding the correct new car, truck, SUV, or crossover to fit your needs? This is Scott Baum from Bob Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Some lots look low on inventory, so go to our website, look at our pre-order and reserve tab. You'll see inventory in transit, which are built and on their way to Clinton, and in production, new Chevys and Buicks, which are being built and will arrive soon. Or you can always call our sales team. They can help you find the correct one just for you. BombChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
Despite supply chain issues, owner Dave Jackson's great team of employees at your Clinton Save-A-Lot are working to keep their shelves stocked to save you up to 40% every day. Find out more by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Peterson Insurance Services in Clinton is a 2014 Pekin Insurance Illinois Agency of the Year. Jay Peterson here from Peterson Insurance. Find out about Pekin's auto, home, or life insurance by clicking on our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
It's time to play Trump or Consequences. Ready, Jill?
Let's go.
Thinking about Mary Miller and Rodney Davis in the race for Congress, who did President Donald Trump praise for fighting Joe Biden's, quote, runaway inflation?
Mary Miller, gotta be. Miller knows Biden is out of control.
Right, Jill. Next, who did Trump endorse for Congress?
Mary Miller. I know Trump backs Miller.
Correct. Miller has Trump's complete and total endorsement. Last question. Who is one of the very few Republicans in Congress to actually praise Joe Biden?
Who did that?
Rodney Davis.
So why would a Republican back Davis?
Good question. Because if you stand with Trump, Mary Miller is the right answer for Congress. Paid for by Club for Growth Action, clubforgrowthaction.org, and not authorized by any candidate or candidates committee. Club for Growth Action is responsible for the content of this advertising.
You're listening to The Morning Show, streamed by clicking the WHOW live icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest on the phone today is Congressman Rodney Davis. Congressman, let's talk a little bit, of course, the very tragic events in Uvalde, Texas from last week, and just really heartbreaking stuff to hear about and watch and continue to see the facts that come out and those sorts of things. Just your kind of overall reaction to that unfortunate massacre last week.
Just devastating, and we're going to see investigations. We're going to see whether or not the cops did the right thing to wait or to hold or they should have moved in. I mean, I as somebody who's experienced gun violence on a baseball field, and I saw what well-trained officers do. They run toward gunfire so that innocent people can run away. If the investigation shows that the cops waited while innocent people were killed, then they need to be held accountable for those actions. And need to be trained to do something different. But in the end, we got to wait to make sure the investigation happens. We can't just, go based off of reporting that may or may not be accurate. And we've seen that happen in this case. But, Democrats always go toward the firearm side of this equation. They don't want to talk about mental health. They don't want to talk about the signs that were missed where a kid said he wanted to be a school shooter when he was younger. Pictures on social media that are out in the public domain of him with dead cats in a bag. Those signs are there. Why didn't somebody step in and try and provide some help to this kid before he got to that crisis stage and committed that heinous crime? Mm-hmm.
Well, and I always, not to say we shouldn't try to do something. I think every situation, warrants a unique conversation about, some of the things you're talking about there, Rodney. But at the same time, we can't legislate evil out of the world. I mean, there are just evil people that are going to do evil things. And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't do something to keep them from, getting to that place. But I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the end goal for a lot of people.
It really is. And those are the things that we have to be concerned about as policymakers. Number one is any policy that's being introduced, would it have affected the outcome of some of these heinous events? That's what I use to judge whether or not I'll support it. And in almost every case, the policies that are proposed in Washington by Democrats wouldn't have affected the outcome of some of these heinous crimes and heinous murders. So these are the things that we're going to see next week in Washington. The Democrats are going to talk about what they're doing to keep schools safe. And at the same time, they're holding back legislation that I've been working with the dad of a Parkland shooting victim on that would allow the Department of Homeland Security to create some minimum hardening standards for our schools. Hey, schools have changed. Security of schools have changed since you and I were in there, Seth. When I was in school, no door was locked. You were in and out. Every door was open to cool the darn place because nobody had air conditioning. But in the end, there's a different, it's different right now. It's the same thing with office buildings. There's much more security. There's a security presence. And that has to happen in our schools that we don't see happen enough of.
When it comes to some of the legislative pieces that Democrats are talking about, Rodney, what specifics come with those, and anything you like, what do you don't like? How about that?
Well, they're going to try and change how law-abiding citizens can access firearms and purchase them. We've got a pretty extensive process in Illinois that one has to go through, and the only people that follow that process are those who follow the law. Criminals really don't care if they check the right box on a FOID card or not, FOID card application. They're criminals. They're going to lie. And then it takes us to the next, some of the other provisions that are in there. They're going to talk about magazine sizes. They're going to talk about types of weapons. I mean, I know a lot of law-abiding citizens with AR-15s that would never commit a crime. But I know a lot of criminals that commit crimes with a lot smaller weapons. But in the end, we've got to prosecute. We've got to have prosecutors who stop worrying about woke ideology and start worrying about actually holding criminals accountable. If you commit a crime with a gun, you deserve to be charged to the fullest extent of the law for using that gun during the commission of a crime. So those are the things that have to happen, Seth. That's something we can do today.
You talk about the AR-15s and the prominence of those, I guess, in society now, and similar guns are used in these crimes and these massacres and such, Rodney. And the question is always posed: why does someone need that gun? Why do they need that AR-15 or whatever similar assault rifle that they have? So how about that? The answer to that question: why should those citizens be allowed to have that gun if they don't? They're not going to use it. They don't need it.
Well, number one, it's the right under the Second Amendment of our Constitution to bear arms. And in the end, just because a gun looks scary doesn't mean that it's actually more deadly than, let's say, a shotgun. And Seth, I sit down with a lot of groups, even those that disagree with me. And I would have some groups come in that favor gun control and taking away our Second Amendment rights. I'd always offer a chance to take them to the firing range, learn how to fire a firearm, and also learn what it takes to purchase a firearm. I had one lady take me up on it one time. I took her down to my firing range that I go to in Pana, and the gun store's attached to it. And we walked in. I showed her the 22 caliber bullet that she was going to be firing out of a pistol that day. And then we went to the gun store, and I asked her. I said, "What gun on that wall is most deadly?" And she, of course, pointed to an AR style 22 caliber rifle. And I said, well, actually, that rifle will fire the exact same ammunition as I showed you. What's more lethal is the 12-gauge shotgun that's on the wall right next to it, because you have a much different firing pattern. And then I asked her, what do you think it takes to buy a gun in here? She said, I could just walk in, put money down, and walk out. No, and then I had the gentleman who runs the gun shop actually explained the process. He couldn't even allow me to touch the gun if I didn't have my FOID card with me, or even touch ammunition. So education matters, and we've got to educate the public on what it takes to actually purchase a firearm in Illinois before we start making that process harder for those who follow the law.
Just real quick, Congressman, as I drive through Decatur from time to time, I see a billboard about, storing your guns properly and those sorts of things. And, I don't know if that's the issue with a lot of these things where, criminals are getting their hands on these weapons from, people in their lives. They know where the guns are and those things. But I like the message of storing guns safely. Just very quickly, your reaction to that.
Well, I actually proposed a bill that created a tax credit for gun dealers to be incentivized to sell gun safes also. I mean, that's what I did when my wife bought her first handgun. We also purchased a safe to go with it. But at the same time, it shouldn't be a crime if somebody wants to be secure and sleep with their firearm on the nightstand next to their bed.
Sure.
Education matters. Just because a firearm is sitting on a nightstand doesn't mean somebody's going to come in and pick it up and use it to commit a crime or use it to hurt somebody or themselves.
Yeah. Congressman, I hate to do this to you. Got to let you go. Congressman Rodney Davis on the phone with us. WHOW Morning Show streams the